We are now thrilled to be joined by John Wroblewski, the gold medal winning coach of the Team USA in the women's worlds. Just an incredible performance by the team, by John. Congratulations, John, first and foremost.
I really appreciate it, Craig. It's great to be here.
Gold medal back where it belongs after a little bit longer than we would have liked in Canada, but we got it there.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to put it. Longer than we'd like, but it we're fortunate. It's great players and a lot of solid performances.
Can we start with Hilary Knight?
Yeah.
Let's start there. It's
Yeah.
funny. I was yeah. Let's not overthink this. I, I was reading up, and what I think we can even get to your future because there was a story, an AP story about what you're going to do next, I'll warn you ahead of time about that question coming. But there was a line where you said, "I will follow Hillary anywhere." I'm going to start with this because you said initially when you got that job, it was a kind of a blank slate, right? You wanted to go in, and I think that was one of the most valuable things you can provide is there's young players coming up, you have that old guard,
I
and
understand.
yeah, and it's like blank slate. What did you learn about Hillary, or throughout this process? And what
Was
impresses you most?
most impressing with Hillary. It's difficult with where to go
Yeah.
with that because I remember this when I was getting asked questions about, say, it's like a kid like Jack Hughes or Zegras or some of those guys, Brady Kachuk, like some of those young players. What are you impressed with? It's almost like the answer evolves, and I think
Mm.
that continues with Hillary. And the one thing that resonates with her is zero ego, which is kind of amazing. That there's no entitlement or anything even close to an idea that she might be better than the other people around her. She's got so much respect for everyone. She's so diligent with her work ethic, and it's sort of like if things aren't going her way, she doesn't waver, and she just has this like Terminator type of attitude out there
Mm.
where she continues to work hard, play her game, and she's so confident in it, and um, it's inspiring. It really is because you'd sort of expect this player that scored all these goals to be able to come in and float around and sort of wait for her time and then pop in the goals as they come. But she just never takes a shift off and never takes a game off and never takes a practice off, and then she's got this personality. It's just magnetic, and she's so happy to be around the team and be around the organization, and or she's just an unbelievable leader on top of it all. It's all genuine. So just a tremendous individual.
When you talk about her having that mentality, and I think one of the storylines that was consistent with this team for you, John, was working in some of the younger players, giving them maybe more prominent
Hmm.
roles. How much easier does it make it when Hillary is setting that example, right? Like you don't have to tell them to work hard every shift. They just look at the best player on the ice.
Yeah, the adage is always that you're only as strong as your leaders, and the work ethic and their appreciation to the systems, and your team values. That only goes so far. Um, and I think that that's the other thing that you can just compile is just for her to see some of her teammates start to go away, and start to replace them with younger players, and with that you lose a little bit of a maturity factor. As
Yeah.
strong as those players are, their computers aren't wired the same way that some of the established players are, and they take a little bit longer with system nuances, whether it's
Hmm.
like it's not like you're running a ton of set plays in the sport, but you do have certain things that you want predictability at, and the veteran players are pretty quick on the uptake with things like that. And some of the younger players, they want to ad lib, and that's the beauty of being a younger player and having that high end talent. So how do you, as an older player, be like, you know, you sort of mitigate your expectation with what we want for predictability, and yet you somehow appreciate the younger player and what they can bring to the team. So, and she never um there was I'll give you one story. There's one blip on the radar, so I know you guys will like.
All right, good.
Yeah. So there's one time where Hilary was wide open, a D to D pass in the neutral zone, and she was wide open for a stretch play, and she comes back to the bench and she looks at me. She goes, "They got to move that up north." And I just said, "Listen, it was KK, it was Harvey."
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask
I
about
was
that.
like, give her a break here for a second. I'll go talk to her, but that's just that's the patience level that you got to deal with a young player such as a Harvey. Is they're going to want the puck on their stick as much as you want the puck on the stick, which is great. So how do we blend that together and not use it as a generational gap, and just to everyone to appreciate the learning process. And that was the only blip on the radar, but I had to share it just because it's fun.
That's great.
Yeah. I mean, the patience with Caroline Harvey certainly paid off, right? She was lights out, fantastic from beginning to end in that tournament.
She'll invigorate the game somewhere along the lines of Hilary for, especially with more of the women in the spotlight going forward. I would anticipate, we've got some big personalities coming up too. The pro league that's going on, and just the tremendous coverage that the sport is getting. But Harvey's going to be something pretty special. I would, when Quinn was coming up before his draft year, I was adamant that he was going to re-revolutionize the position as to what young kids are going to want to play it like. And I see that as, KK's calling card too. There's going to be a slew of young American and probably Canadian defensemen that are going to want to play just like KK Harvey, because she's just an element back there. You can't predict what she's going to do, but the more we're around her, the more it'll be sort of just a congruent flow of how we play. And she's just so explosive, and good things happen when she's on the ice.
What's an example of something she's able to do that nobody else can do?
Yes. So here, I'll give you an example. Okay. It's when most of the time in the neutral zone, if you're trying to go cross ice, it's going to get picked off, or something's going to go sideways.
Yeah.
1 out of 10, it's going to work out. It's going to be great. And she'll just flip pucks cross ice, and normally you're going like, oh God, this isn't going to work. It'll skip over the defenseman's stick who's in perfect space. And it's like not 9 out of 10, not 1 out of 10 times. It's the other way around. 9 out of 10 times it gets by. So you just sort of let her, she'll reverse the flow on her. So it'll be a reverse puck. And normally you want to go back up with the way that the puck, against the flow, because you've just brought their forecheck with you. So let's go back the other way. She'll just bring it right back into the forecheck, and it'll work for her because she is so gifted athletically. Even at this level, she is just a thoroughbred at 20 years old.
Yeah. That's
amazing. Haley Salvian talked about KK's skating in that story. That was sort of like the fulcrum of the thing that Haley wrote. Harvey's mentioning Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes and all these, which also, we're talking about feeling old earlier, couldn't have made me feel older, is we now have a whole generation of players that looks up to Cale Makar and is doing huge things.
Posters of Cale Makar in their
right. She was growing up with posters of Cale Makar on her walls. I'm 500 years old. But the skating is the thing that pops with her for someone who's not as maybe well versed in the game. You see her and the edge work and the stuff she does with her pivots and stuff. It's crazy, and it is you watch her and you're like, oh, this is Cale Makar stuff, and she's very open about it, which is cool.
Yeah, no, she can. It's magical the way that she's in control of those edges, and she's got a long way to go athletically, which is just all optimism, So, Brock Bradley, he's an equipment manager with the NTDP. He's been there for 2 decades now, 2.5 decades. He used to like when the players' jerseys would flap in the wind. There's a special look that I don't know what mile per hour it happens at, or what at what speed or acceleration rate it happens, but it does. And I started watching for it every now, and she's got that that jersey flap when she gets up and gets galloping. And it's cool to see. I mean, it's fun to watch. Like you got it. You just, she's got the puck and then she starts going and you're like, okay, what's going to happen? Like you're that the majority of the time it's going to work out positively. So you're excited for what's going to happen next as opposed to worry. That's what you got a goalie for. That's where you got Frankel back there, Hensley, and in this case, and they got a job to do too. And KK provides so much offense that you're going to give up some. When you got the puck in your stick that much, you're going to make some mistakes too, and we're comfortable with that.
I wanted to ask,
well, just in terms of earning that trust, Robo, like I think there's relying on young players, especially somebody like that. There takes a minute of earning trust. Like, what was that process like for you and her?
Well, I think it was pretty simple. You have a player that burns to win, that burns to succeed. So that's apparent in your first conversation with her. And then you have a player that also just needs a little bit of reassurance. That was the next thing that you met in the conversation. She's very humble. She wants to do a good job. She wants people to be proud of her. And I think all that she needed was just someone to say, go and do this, where your work ethic will define you. And your skill and your ability eventually will take over if you just have that confidence in yourself. And that's a very difficult thing. I mean, there's so much credit to her. The confidence has to be earned. You can tell a player all you want, keep putting them back out there, but ultimately they really do have to believe in themselves, believe in their path. And you can keep rolling them over the boards, but if they don't believe in themselves, or if they get down after a mistake and then they don't try it again, the chances for development they go out the door. So I mean, the credit goes to her, and her family. She's got an unbelievable support system, and it's all her. Like seriously, I mean, it didn't take a lot to see the potential, and you just tell her it's just a couple honest conversations. You tell her how much you believe in her, and how much you believe in what she can do, and hey, you're going to keep going out there, and you're going to figure it out one day. And because she had some dark moments early in the last year's tournament that it was like, oh, okay, let's have a sit down here. Like you don't have to worry about your job, you don't have to worry about not playing. Like you're gonna keep playing and you're gonna figure it out, or you're not, and we're gonna
we'll go down with you.
You're having a harder conversation in years. But for now, I'm not going to sit there and play you 10 minutes and hope that you figure it out that way. No, you're just going to play 20, and we're all going to live with what happens going forward. So yeah.
Is that a common thing to have an elite player, an elite talent, who's also a people pleaser? Because that's basically how you described her in the start of that answer, right? To have somebody who is who has that kind of personality trait. Is that something you've come across before? And how's that to deal with?
Brady's that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that.
As far as the humanistic side, he's got so much earned confidence, now he's real confident in his path, deservedly so. Deep down, he's the guy that's going to be, and so much credit to Gentille and Walt that, to have him come up that way, but he's got so much appreciation for everything that people have done for him. And he wants to pay people back. Trevor Zegras, as much as you look at him and, you see some of the, let's just call him antics, he's an entertainer now, but he really does want to, he's a team first kid, and he really does want to make people proud of him. And he wants the reassurance, and absolutely, as you should. Hey, is this what the team wants? It's a huge credit to those individuals to be able to blend that just God-given talent that you can't duplicate with these intangibles of deep down having the characteristics of wanting to do what's best for the team. And Trevor was that same way. I mean, I'll tell you, like, he was playing second fiddle to Jack the whole way through.
Yeah,
shift him to wing when he's a natural center, and he just was always, what can I do better? What can I do? All these things. And it wasn't about him. It was about him performing for the team. And being a great player around a bunch of other great players. And KK, she reminds me a lot of the Hughes brothers with how she carries herself too. Just that's like humble, but but confident.
Yeah.
And deservedly so.
I'm just curious if you did anything off the ice to kind of bridge the gap with the generations. Was there like let's get Alex Carpenter and Amanda Kessel and everyone into a bowling alley for 3 straight days, and I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, was there some like team bonding,
icebreakers, or team...
that's right. Because I think that's part of it too. Like, you want these players not to be threatened, or because they're talking about ice time changing, and it just seemed like it worked really well.
Yeah, I think the nature of those tournaments is it feels like there's a lot of time to get something like that done, and the reality is there just isn't. And the players really value their freedom. When there's an opportunity to get away from the rink, it doesn't change just because it's a shortened event or a tighter schedule, or what's at the end of it. When the players see a day off, they are excited for their opportunity to get out and do whatever they're doing. And that's another amazing thing about the women's game. Like, we had Gabby Hughes taking the Hockey Humanitarian Award while she was up in Toronto, a player from Minnesota Duluth. And you guys should do a dive on what she does for her non-for-profit. It's just unbelievable. So it's a non-for-profit for mental health, and it generates a ton of money, and it goes back to just unbelievable causes. And this is a 5th-year player in university still, who's able to do all this and be an All-American. I think she took All-American status. If she didn't, she was right there in the mix. So there's so many things that these women do in addition to being an athlete, which is just, it's really cool and invigorating.
I mean, I do the Friday show with Haley, and we have we've had a lot of national team players from both North American countries on there, and it's still, I mean, it intellectually, because you see that they're whatever running clinics or doing they're ambassadors for the game in a way that, and they're forced to be, and that sucks. Like, I know a lot of them would much rather be able to
just play hockey,
but that's also not right. That's unfortunately not the world we live in, and that's not the expectations that are placed on them. Even Hilary, like, we had a really, really long talk with her, where she was like she was doing part-time work for ESPN and going this and been bouncing around there. And every time I talk to these women, it's like, this is bananas that they can't just hang out and work and get better, where there needs to be some kind of like conditional that's attached to it.
Yeah, I know it's tough to speak for the players in that realm. They're definitely back in pioneer mode though. The pandemic, just from my view, it dissolved a bit of momentum that the sport had on the pro side. So they kind of had to start anew. And Kendall Coyne is just, she's a prime example of somebody that's just, I go back to that Terminator type mentality, or kind of just persona. And it's like, she's a captain of our team. She's almost heading up the PWHPA. And also, she's working for the Blackhawks as player development. It's like, and now becoming a mom. And it's like, how are you doing all of these things? How many are you? Like, do we have some clones out there, Kendall, or what's going on? But that's how impressive, and just, to me, it's invigorating. It's, it just wants you to be a better version of yourself, being around people that are as courageous and committed to what they're doing. And there's, you'd think that there'd be like a little bit of like, oh, I wish this wasn't this way, or something like that from the players. And it's, all of it is positive, and they're such unbelievable people. It's a great group to be around.
I wanted to ask specifically about Abbey Murphy, because we saw her.
John's favorite player.
Oh, I mean, I was all in on her during the Olympics, but then we saw she's left off the roster for Denmark. Comes back, she was, a force, I think, in the gold medal game. She's scores the goal, she draws the penalty. It was like the full Abbey Murphy experience, I feel like, down the stretch there. But how gratifying was that for you as a coach to watch someone who, you had to make a tough decision with really last year, bounce back and contribute in such a huge way.
Yeah, I think, I watched the Olympics in detail, as closely as I could to get as much information on the players as possible. And I didn't see a team going to Denmark without Murph on it, just from her electricity and things like that. And I think that Murph and I had just a little misunderstanding about her how committed she is to a team, and that was my misread on her. You just see some of her brash play, which it's right on the edge. It's not over the edge, it's right on the edge, and I misinterpreted some of her intentions. That was something that she and I've ironed out. And all I can say is that Abbey Murphy you're so lucky to have her on your team. I mean, she is so skilled, she's so fast, and she plays the game with so much heart. And she learned a little bit, and she got better because of it, to her credit. And I learned a lot about her too, and I appreciate her even more.
And that's a pretty, I wasn't expecting that answer, John, to be honest. For you to say you misinterpreted something is really interesting to me.
Yeah, it was my misinterpretation of Abbey. So
so this gold medal means you're the first person, correct me if I'm wrong here, but first coach to win gold with the men's. Yeah, that was the 2017 U18s that you coached. Who was on that team, just to remind some people?
So it was 16-17s. That was our top line was Kachuk and Norris.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
And then Mike Pasajov was the right wing. Oliver Wallstrom and Joel Farabee were underagers that came up for us on that team. We had an unbelievable crew. Sean Doogie and Ryan Palin joined us, who was playing at St. Cloud that year. So Pales came over. Those guys teamed up in overtime against Sweden to get us into the final game. They scored a kind of a goal out of nowhere. Pales stripped a Swedish defenseman, he didn't even see it, and then Doogie scored in overtime. Dylan St. Cyr, Maynon's son, was our goaltender. He could play the puck better than most defensemen can, smarter than most defensemen with the puck, and just had that it factor. Quinn Hughes was our best D, but we had a really homogenous group after that. It was big, strong, mobile kids, Tyler Inamoto, and Phil Kemp was so good for us back there. We just had a bunch of D that really wanted to defend.
Yeah.
So that was a fun group to work with. Joel Farabee scored twice in the gold medal game as an underage player in that one. So that was a really cool group.
So you win gold there. I mean, when we've talked a lot through the years about, what you want to do, and then you win gold with the women's here. So now, you've opened up any possible path theoretically. So I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this without your answer being, you'll have to ask Pat Kelleher.
Why is that what I was quoted as saying?
I think that's what you said when somebody else asked about
I'm disappointed that got you. I'll talk to John Waro, and we'll sort this one out.
We could throw John under the bus. I'm happy to say. I'm happy to throw John under the bus. I'm sure John misquoted you.
So I feel like I can give him a little pop. No, it was we were in the scrum, and it was a joke completely. But where does it go? We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, here's what I'll say is USA Hockey's been there for me since I was 16 years old. I was fortunate enough to make the NTDP the first 2 years they had it. I don't know how I made the team. It was sort of they didn't know what they were doing yet. So, I worked hard. So I guess that was the era. I had a bigger frame so they could, the New Jersey Devils are playing the trap. This guy works hard. He seems like a good kid. So he makes the team. And it's just opened up so many doors for me since then. And, a year ago when things weren't, I didn't even know if I was going to be in hockey anymore, honestly, where things dissolved with LA. And I didn't know what I wanted out of my life. And, all of a sudden I get a text message from Beezer, and it's, hey, can you give me a shout? Let's chat. Would love to. What do you think about this opportunity? You could talk to some people. And, USA Hockey's been there for me in a time where to give me new life almost continuously. You know, I skipped the middle ages where I was, you know, the NTDP came back into my life to get me into coaching, and then, you know, got the first, you know, first job that, you know, would carry a significant amount of status with the NTDP head coach. And so I really believe in the universe telling you signs, and to be present where you're at. And this is, I feel, you know, I've used the word a couple of times in this job, but invigorated. I think there's something more to this than just coaching hockey. There's a program to be built, which I really enjoy. I feel like what we do with this program with these women will resonate to a lot of people, not just young girls, but a lot of people. And I really believe in that hockey does not define you. And so this is an opportunity to really, really grow and be, you know, try to become as well-rounded of a human being as possible, and be in tune with a lot of things that are really important, not just ice and pucks and sticks. So I'm really, if this opportunity ever dissolved, I don't know where I would go from it. But it might not even be in the sport, honestly. So
I mean, I think you've earned another run at coaching the team if you want it.
It's up to everybody else. I'm around. I'm around, and I don't have any other commitments.
I don't know. In the meantime, if what you're doing is coaching this team and feeling like a more balanced, well-rounded human being, like, great. Like, holy cow! Like that's what it's about. Without getting too deep here.
Oh, you get as deep as you want with me, man. I'm like, I couldn't agree more. Like, if that's what I wake up in 30 years and that's what I'm defined as a hockey coach, then I'm going to be pretty disappointed, I think. But I try not to live too far in the future and these days. And, you know, it's great to be present and try to just, you know, gauge my worth on how that day went, and did I help some people get better at what they want to do, and does that make me feel good? And if those answers are yes, then I try to gauge that as a pretty good day, and let's move on to the next one.
I wanted to wrap with this, and I don't want to, like, it's going to feel wedged in because we're going down, I feel like, a more important conversation, but I did want to ask you about, I'm switching gears.
Yeah.
I'm flipping.
We're back to no. We're back.
I switch gears right up. Like, I'll be in this Doors shirt for now, but I'll be in workout clothes in 20 minutes, and then I'll be, you know, like, whatever.
Anyway, like, isn't it great to be like a fully formed, complete person? Yeah. How about that? Okay, let's talk about.
That's great. Can we talk about Jack Hughes? No, but I mean, you know, we're all tired because we're up late watching playoff hockey, and I imagine for you it's got to be fun. You said there's so many of your, you know, guys that you help shape their careers, really, like, kind of having their moments right now. Like, how do you watch these playoffs, and what are your expectations from these kids?
Yeah, it is. It's really fun watching people on their path, and to know that maybe, you know, you help them get there. I think that's a great recipe for happiness in life, is to, you know, to facilitate and try to be as positive and supportive of people and help them find their way. You know, if that's what your you know, your skill set is, and, you know, you're comfortable with that, helping people get to the path that they want to get to, whether it's be a hockey player or something else. And, you know, it's really cool to see those guys, because I know how bad they burn for it, you know. And you know, a lot of their hard work and their family's hard work, it's all validated, and, you know, it's really cool to see. I don't put too much expectation on it. I think that, you know, those guys have accomplished so much in their young careers already. You know, and I think that, you know, getting good with yourself is the most important thing for those guys, and, you know, gauging their level of success and trying to is the most important thing, and trying to block out noise from the external, and you know, being good with their path. And so many of them have found it, and I'm really happy for them.